And it's really been life-changing for you as well, as this has opened a lot of opportunities for you to travel more and travel with better accommodations too.
Yeah, 100%. The things that I've been able to accomplish in this space since starting in 2018, that I started to take this much more seriously because I realized that there were pieces to the puzzle that I wasn't really understanding. I was looking at a lot of the blogs that I was following back in the day. My favorite was God Save the Points, and I always saw him doing these amazing things. I started digging in further. I attended 4 separate travel points and miles conferences, of which one of them we'll be getting into here with our main topic. But it was really my start to it. And it felt like these were going to help me along the way. They were an investment into what I wanted to do. And my wife had really come to me. She said, "Hey, I want to do more. I want to not just sit home and pay bills and do nothing but work and pay bills all the time." 2018 was that game changer for me. And once we started getting into it, there were a bunch of rabbit holes I went down and really never have come back up since.
You found that the answer to everything was more credit cards.
Yeah, I'm starting to look at how to adjust some of those because I've opened so many. At my most, I think I had nearly 60 cards. I hit 58 and I started paring some of those back because they are just multiples of things that I couldn't maximize anymore. They were great for the welcome offers and then some of the perks and benefits that came along with them. When I first started this, like I had mentioned earlier, I got started because my wife wanted to travel and we had 2 young kids and we were looking for ways that we could afford to travel more or better. And I was really a budget traveler to begin with. So I didn't really have any miles or points. I opened a few cards casually here and there, but I started jumping on these different opportunities that popped up where I could get a card that would give me status. Like I got the United Club card way back in the day, and it offered Hyatt status. And that Hyatt status was able to convert to some of the casino statuses. And eventually I jumped on the whole casino status, what I think Dave Grossman trademarked or did something with, where it became the status match merry-go-round, where you could just keep getting status over and over. All of these things were things that I was trying to use to enhance the travels for our family and make travel for our family better.
A lot of us signed up for the Wyndham Earner Business
Hmm.
Card,
Yeah,
and that
great card.
was $99 annual fee. I got in, I believe, around 60,000 Wyndham points. It was worth at least $600. And then we had the opportunity to match Wyndham Diamond status to Caesars
Right.
Diamond status, which gave us a $100 dinner, waived resort fees, and the potential to match that status to other programs and get complimentary cruises. So that was
Right.
a huge value proposition when that was a thing. But of course, the war on happiness struck and no more automatic Caesars Diamond status. But since we've talked about different ways to get that status, maybe through playing video poker during a tier multiplier day with Caesars, maybe some Caesars credit cards, or going another route I presented about in Chicago of getting MGM credit cards and spending your way for status, and also getting a complimentary cruise, $100 dining credit, and other benefits. So status matching a little bit harder nowadays, but I wouldn't say that it's dead. It's just a different route as the game changes, as it often does.
Yeah, there's so many things in this space that are so different from when I started. And I think for anybody who actually started in this space,
And you've joined a different type of community with Zorkfest, combining miles, points, and gambling. How did you get involved with the gambling portion and the gambling community?
so with Zorkfest, I've never been heavy in gambling. It's just something that was always the flashiness, that in the movies, that in entertainment and any place that you go, there's always a little bit of thrill and excitement about Las Vegas. And I first went to Las Vegas back in 2014 with my wife, and we did it in it as inexpensively as we possibly could, be it all on cash at that point. It was something that I looked at and said, you could travel to Las Vegas and you could experience elevated travel experiences like the hotels and the luxuries, but you could have really nice meals and they were inexpensive. And that proposition has changed a lot with over the years with Vegas. But using these travel rewards and programs can help reduce our cost. I know that Vegas is much more expensive today for most people traveling, but all these years later, despite the expensive hotel suites or rooms and things like that, some of the expensive food costs, the travel to get there, I can still do this way less for way less money out of my pocket utilizing these travel rewards programs. And so when I saw the Zorkfest program pop up, and I remember that Ib or Gilbert Ott from God Save the Points had put out a link for Zorkfest in 2018. He did a blog post. And like I said earlier, he was my favorite blogger in the space. And he said, hey, come join me. I'll be speaking at Zorkfest. And I figured this is the perfect opportunity to learn a little bit more about that intersection of travel and loyalty along with casino loyalty. And I think it was just an interesting mix of people because I had a bunch of my favorite people that I got to meet at that particular event. I got to meet the person who was responsible for writing most of the articles at the Points Guy that were my favorite articles. And that was Richard Kerr, who is the founder of the Award Travel 101 community by Award Wallet. So that was something that was interesting to me as well. Ed Pizzarello from the Miles to Go podcast and Pizza in Motion blog was there. A lot of the people that I just really seemingly connected with were at this particular event. And it was just kind of history. It was where things got set in stone for me because I was very close to giving up. That was my second conference that I had attended at that point. And I was just struggling. I was like, how are all these people doing such amazing travel? And I'm sitting here flying Southwest and Frontier still and collecting United miles and Southwest Rapid Rewards points, but I'm not able to do all these other things. And it was just that I didn't understand all the tools that were available to me. And I didn't understand the difference between flexible currencies and fixed award currencies that are based on a particular program.
Good. So it was a nice moment for you that turned things around and you got more inspired to level up your game.
Yeah, 2018 Zorkfest was the second one that was there. And then I attended again with a friend in 21 and 23, and by myself again last year in 2024, where I've connected with you a few times. So 2025 will be my, my fifth Zorkfest event. And this time, Michael Traeger, the events organizer, had asked me to help coordinate some of the award travel and miles and points event along with him as he's working on the bigger experience overall. And with that in mind, I think I've organized some pretty awesome things that are going to go on at this year's event.
Why do you think that miles and points people should be interested in the gambling portion?
That's a way to utilize some spend opportunities that they may not have been aware were available to them. A lot of people who are just getting started look at a lot of these credit cards and they say, I'm never going to be able to meet that spend. I just don't spend that much money. And I think that was something all of us who are just getting started come across. I know that when I looked at it, I remember the times when the Amex Platinum, the $450 Amex Platinum and the $450, I think it was maybe even $395 at one point, Chase Sapphire Reserve card had 100,000 point bonuses, which were huge at the time. Most cards had somewhere between 30 and 50,000 points or mile welcome offers at the time. And people looked at those and just said, I don't know how I'm ever going to spend $8,000 because I just don't spend that much in my daily life. We've had a lot of inflation, so costs are a lot higher today. So it's not quite as hard to spend that much money on if you know where to utilize these things in terms of your daily bills and expenses. But sometimes when it's harder to do that, there are other and alternative ways to generate the spend. And it doesn't mean that has to be money that's net out of your pocket. It means just that it's coursing through your accounts out one way and coming back another way. And I think some of the casino plays are opportunities to do that. And I think you'll be getting into some of those and how you accomplish some of that with some of the sessions, and specifically into the master session where we'll get into creative spend opportunities. But I think people who have this will get to that are miles and points people will also see the other side where they can have a little fun and do this, but they can then travel there for free. And conversely, the casino people who have no miles and points experience and are just looking for ways to get to these places for less can find ways to elevate their travel through the miles and points event here that are going to be at the Zorkfest 2025. And I think there are a couple of new things that are going to be exciting for all of the attendees to come to create their own dream trip. We're going to get started Friday, and people always ask, when should I be there? Officially, Zorkfest starts at 5 p.m. on Friday evening with a cocktail reception meet and greet. But the registration actually opens at noon, and we're going to have a pre-session at 1 p.m., which I'll be giving to anyone who wants to listen about all the terminology that you're going to need to know for listening to the event and going through the sessions over the weekend, and things that'll help you kickstart your process into making your way into more intermediate level topics without being left in the dark. And then we're going to have a casino loyalty program at 2. If you want to do, that's going to be a pre-session for, again, getting familiar with casino loyalty, what it can do, and all of that. So you're really wanting to get into what we're going to be doing. That starts at 1 p.m. on Friday, December 5th. And then after that, those are finished up. At 3 p.m., we're going to have a couple of different labs. So there's going to be a Miles and Points lab sponsored by Rome, where they're going to show how to use the tool to do searches and set alerts. We're going to have a Europe and safari journey. So if you're interested in building a trip to Europe or building a safari trip to Africa, we're going to have one of those. We have an Asia specialist who knows how to get families 2, 4, 6, up to 6 people on a trip to Asia. She's well-versed in that field. We also have people who will be covering Disney and family travel, as well as we have Rove Travel, which is new in the award travel space. So they're a new program that'll be interesting for many to learn about who have problems with getting credit cards, because you can earn a transferable, flexible currency without getting a credit card. And I'm excited about all of that. Of course, we have people who will be covering credit cards. We have a person who's been to well over 100 countries and can teach you all the ways that he travels in comfort and luxury to do. And topping it off with you, discussing how to do free cruises.
Yes, the comp cruises have been really interesting. A good overlap between miles and points and credit cards is we're using credit to get status that gives us cruises and then matching those to other programs. It's been the year of cruising for me. I've gone on 7 cruises and I'm going to take an 8th one in December. I've had so many offers that have been declining, especially the interior cabins, as I've been cruising ocean view and balcony. So it's a good problem to have, too many cruise offers. Lots to look forward to. And there's also some social gaming events. And you mentioned the labs, the master classes, and there'll be an opportunity for people unfamiliar with gambling to learn video poker, to learn blackjack, what basic strategy is and how to play well and not just be sitting down, not knowing what you're doing.
And I think it'll be fun to have a live on the floor demonstration so that we have teachers who are going to walk you through what to do when you're stuck in these situations where you're like, what do I do or how do I play? And I know that you'll be amongst those teaching folks how to do some of this better.
Yes. When I approach gambling, I'm looking at gambling as a tool and typically finding an advantage through stacking multiple things. So maybe we'd be playing online blackjack, for instance, where I'm giving up about 0.5% in the long run to the house, but I'm getting bonuses, I'm getting credit card spend in funding the gambling, playing through funds once and just withdrawing the money. So a lot of interesting ways to find advantages. And then with video poker, often promotions giving bonus free play, bonus credits towards status, And while you might be giving up a few percent in video poker, in most scenarios, you're getting status, and the benefits from that are quite valuable.
Yeah, I think when you talk about that and you talk about giving up the percentage, I think that's the same thing that we look at within the award travel and miles and points space is that you have all of this opportunity and what's it really going to cost you. I look at how much miles and points are going to cost me. And if I can find ways to creatively spend much more than what I would actually be able to spend in my everyday life, one of the things that anybody attending needs to understand is we're not advocating for you to outspend what your capability is. We're advocating for the responsible use of that credit to be able to spend in ways that you maybe hadn't previously considered possible to do. And it's effectively utilizing it in the mind of a business. You have to think of it almost as if you're running a business and how can I minimize my costs. And if you're looking at it from a travel perspective, if you can look at it and say, oh, I can spend $1 million, but I can only have $10,000 in expenses, and 10,000 may sound like a lot of travel, a lot to travel, but maybe you don't need to spend $1 million to generate what you need to travel the way you want. Maybe you need less than that. And maybe it's only 100,000. And now you can knock out a bunch of welcome offers very easily to do what you need to do. Once you start seeing the outsized proportions of what you can get, it really changes the whole space. Like I said, I think I started getting interested in Japan. I've had, I don't know, 4 or 5 first class flights that I've already taken on Japan Airways or Japan Airlines. And I have 8 more booked over the course of the next year for not only me, but also for my family. So it's something I have three trips to Japan booked for the future for me personally. All of them are flying first class. These are flights that list price for their tickets are typically north of 10,000 and sometimes upwards of $20,000 per ticket one way. Even booked round trip, they're still $22,000 to $25,000 for a round trip ticket. So it's not something that I would ever be able to afford even one single ticket. And I have 8 of them booked for the future, and I've taken 4 or 5 of them already. So that's something that I think really can change up your perspective quite quick.
A positive lifetime achievement award, as people talk about a trip that's once per lifetime, but I think we're able to transcend that in a way to take these multiple trips in one lifetime.
Absolutely. Each and every trip I take is a trip of a lifetime for most people that they would never, ever be able to do. And it's a fascinating thing to be able to do these kind of things that are even on the more ordinary side.
And I'm looking forward to Vegas. As we mentioned, Zorkfest will be in Las Vegas. I'm going to see Wizard of Oz at Sphere using Chase Sapphire Reserve benefit with StubHub. I'm going to use the Chase Dining benefit to go to Vanderpump at Paris. I'm using the edit credit to stay at Park MGM for a portion of it. I'm coming in before Zorkfest. Using Amex Fine Hotels and Resorts to stay at Fontainebleau. I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I'm using a lot of MGM comps and rewards from MGM credit card spending. So there's lots going on that points us to Vegas. Finding value in Vegas, continuing to be a great value destination if you're prepared for it.
I think that's a great tip for people is to realize that there are a lot of different credits and opportunities through all of these cards to use. If there was a tip I were to offer first time attendees is I go back and think about my first time. It's not to be afraid to socialize with each and every one of us. Go up and meet somebody and make a friend. You never know when those friendships and those connections and those acquaintances are going to turn into something more.
Yes, lots of opportunities to once again reference Perry, Purple Princess Perry on Instagram. She says that about the T, the MBTA, opportunities. So there will be a lot of those at Zorkfest, these spontaneous conversations, these interactions, meeting some new people, seeing familiar faces. So very much looking forward to it. Very happy that it's in Vegas. once again. So we'll have the Vegas experience in addition to the conference experience, coming early, staying a little bit later. It's going to be a good time.